Hey groupers, Pastor Marshall. I hope that you are excited to be done with the 6th chapter of John. It took us a little while, but we're in the 7th chapter and we're going to do it all in 1 week. So we're making gaining some real estate, some ground today. I wonder if you could be sharing with one another, just to break the ice this morning, how has this pandemic shortened your anger fuse? I shared a story this last week about a lady that I ran into out on the streets. Any stories that you could tell about your own anger maybe popping off a little more than you think it would have a year ago if we hadn't been in this pandemic? How has your fuse been shortened? I know I yelled at my dog one time this last year, and afterwards I was pretty ashamed. It was not normal Marshall dog behavior. What about you? Well, what is the Festival of Tabernacles? What did it commemorate? What is involved? Who attended? Look up Exodus chapter 23, verse 16 to learn a little bit more about tabernacles. And then look up Leviticus 23, start in verse 33. You'll read all the way through verse 43, and that'll help you learn a little more. And then look up Deuteronomy 16, 13 through 15, and learn a little more. We're trying to understand, what is this Festival of Tabernacles? What did it commemorate? What's involved? Who attends? Use these scriptures to help you answer those questions. Well, in verse 3, it says that Jesus' brothers challenged him to go to the festival. I want you to look up Matthew 13:55, and what are the names of Jesus' brothers? And then, what does this mean about the Roman Catholic teaching of the perpetual virginity of Mary? What do the Gospels say? What do the Gospels say about this subject? Well, in the 7th chapter, there are 7 different attacks on Jesus. Can you name them? Go back through the chapter. Name them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then, after you've named them, I wonder, which of these do you think was the most difficult for Jesus personally? Why? Which do you think was the least difficult for Jesus personally? Why? And then, of these 7 attacks, which is the most serious? Now, in verse 12, they accuse Jesus of being a deceiver. I want you to turn back to Deuteronomy chapter 13. In the Old Testament, it speaks about how we're to handle deceivers. What does Deuteronomy 13 say that would be directly related to this accusation that Jesus was a deceiver? And then, not everyone in this chapter attacks Jesus. And so, after you've gone through and listed your 7, how many positive things are said about Jesus in this chapter? What are the positive things that are said about Jesus in this chapter? And then, to finish, let's just remember our applicable points this week. There were lots of applicable points, and maybe you need to be reminded in this Bible study. Maybe it's Monday night, maybe it's Tuesday night, maybe it's Wednesday night, maybe it's Thursday night. Maybe you need to be reminded of some application. First, Jesus was attacked by his family. We will sometimes be attacked by our family. Second, the popular crowd goes a different way than Jesus goes. We're probably not going to be a part of the popular crowd if we're following Christ. Third, beliefs are considered juvenile intellectually. Sometimes Christianity is considered a check your brains at the door place. It doesn't mean that it is, but sometimes we will be attacked for our belief, for the idea that we are not intellectuals. And then, next, friends will think that you have joined a cult. When you get serious about God, they'll get serious about wondering what's going on in your life, and your friends might think that you've gone off your rocker. And then, fifth, the mistakes of our youth and our past that are held as evidence that people will never change. Maybe you need to be reminded that your past does not define your present, and it certainly does not need to define your future. In Christ, we are new creations. And then, last but not least, we have this growing list of nations that constantly attack Christianity. And so there is such a thing as nationalized persecution. There are places in the world, there always have been, and there still are, that are opposed to the ways of God. Nations that rise up to attack the people of God. Well, I hope that you have a great group and get all the way through the 7th chapter, because the 8th chapter, well, it's in another amazing place. I look forward to studying that with you. God bless.